On that note, we have an audience question, and that is how to not lose interest in the field as day goes on in this career.
Stay curious. That's the real thing. Look at it and see challenges as opportunities. We see the field, the technology is changing, methods change. Just stay curious and keep an open mind. And that always helps. You're always learning something. If you don't like to learn new things, this probably isn't the field for you. So, but
That that's
yeah, it's
exactly
always something new.
that's exactly what I would say. If you're losing interest in the field, this is probably not the field for you because there's something changing happening every day. According to CompTIA, there's a cyber event every 0.25 seconds or something like that. I mean, there's something going on all the time, right? With AI coming into the mix, it's even exploding beyond those measures, right? So I don't see how someone would not be interested or losing interest in what's actually happening in our field. So they're probably doing something wrong from an education perspective, from a knowledge perspective, because there's a lot of things to be curious about and want to learn more about.
And I would add, always remember what your actual why is. Why'd you get in the field, right? People become passionate when you display excellence or mastery, right? And accoutrements of becoming good at something, right? Like no one, like no child 5 years old is like, Mom and Dad, I want to be a tax accounting lawyer. No one says that, right? But become passionate about it because you become successful about it. Get to have wider selection of mates, right? Get to travel the world, right? Take care of the family. So become passionate about doing that, right? So understand like what is your why for doing whatever career path you want to do. If it's cybersecurity, cool. If it's washing cars, doesn't matter, right? Just understand what is your actual why for doing it. That will help guide you down your path.
Philippa, I think you have a question for the panelists.
I do. I think some of this we've covered, but it's basically just kind of if you can drill down a little bit more into what tools, resources, ongoing learning strategies do you utilize to stay current in the field, and what would you recommend to those entering the profession? And I'm going to head start with Durs.
Black Hills Information Security, Cyber and Security Podcast, Hacker News, Dark Reading. I mean, there's so many things out there, right? But to Dominic's point, it can get overwhelming because there's just so many different things out there. So just look around, explore different things that are out there, and what is cater to your why. To Kenneth's point, use those resources and kind of stick to them without trying to boil the ocean. Because if you have so many different things you're looking at, it's going to be overwhelming, and you're probably not going to get the most knowledge and the best use of the resources that you're looking at.
I love the phrase "don't boil the ocean." It's a great one. Exactly. And I think also I hear a lot of times people say cybersecurity and it's like a broad thing, but I think the more you can drill down, it's like, are you GRC? Are you SOC? Are you SIEM? Are you red team, blue team? It gives you a little bit more specificity in what you're leaning into. So yeah, continuing on that question about the tools and resources, let me bring it over to John.
The tools and resources, I mentioned it a bunch of times. It's just, you got to stay current. Like YouTube is great. If you set the right filters, get the right algorithm going, there's something new every day. And what I found is real interesting, the Talos group from Cisco, they did this whole presentation on Sol Typhoon. And it's amazing how the Chinese government has come and hit our telecoms, among other things. And they did it with outdated software. It was vulnerabilities back from 2018. It's a great read. I think it was called Weathering the Storm by the security group Talos with Cisco. Stuff like that is huge. And you know what's great too? If you're running on time, take the article, put it in ChatGPT and have them summarize it. So what would have taken you a 20-minute read is now 5 minutes. Stuff like that is great. And from that Security Now podcast. The podcast and YouTubes are great, and they also lead me down other roads. So I love that, but it's always something so interesting. But best practices, that came back to best practices. If you would have patched that Cisco device that had a CVE score of 10.0, the highest you can go, it just comes back to best practices. But it's nice knowing that so you can tell your clients, tell the organizations, first things first. We're all talking about getting AI in there and doing all these magical things. Let's just patch on a quarterly basis. How about that? But the podcast and YouTube, they're the two best learning resources for me. Thanks.
Great, Dominic.
Yeah, I think touch on what more John said. Use AI, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, Google's AI, have it break down things for you that you don't understand. I know when I first started, obviously that was only a few years ago. ChatGPT wasn't around yet or that type of stuff, but it is now. So take the time to, have it break things down to you, whether you have to explain it to it yourself like a 5-year-old or not. But also I feel like once you learn the fundamentals and basics, definitely start trying to get towards that hands-on experience. And a lot of sites that help me is a big one is Try Hack Me. And then also if you're on like the defensive side, there's one called Let's Defend. It's kind of the same thing, but it's focusing more on like being a SOC analyst, incident response, and that type of work, and just going through those simulations and seeing the different tools and looking at the different interfaces. I feel like that's very important. And then as far as news go, there's so many things out there, podcasts, news articles. Also do your research if you're kind of young like me and certain people that don't have, the attention span. Go on YouTube, watch the shorts, go to Twitter. There's different social media outlets you can go to get these in-depth breakdowns, but that's kind of what I would recommend.
Fantastic. And Kenneth?
I would say it's gonna depend what area you want to be in, right? Let's say you do what I do, right? Detection engineering, threat hunting, threat intelligence, right? Most firms would normally try to specialize in a type of tool set area, right? But understanding the fundamental aspects of whatever you're doing, right? So if you're a sim engineer, SOAR engineer, right? Understanding how those areas fundamentally work at the core, right? How does incident response work? How does automation work? How does detection and code work? And then whatever language you use, right? Whether it be SPO, KQL, LQL, doesn't matter. You're able to map it out towards whatever language or tech stack that you want to, and you can learn from there.